I hear someone sniffing.
That's me.
No sniffing.
Can't yell at me for my allergies.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic TGIF. Time to air some grievances up in here.
Crudy, happy Friday to you. Nate, working the board. Thank you, young man, our fair audience. Happy Friday to us all. Crudy, I mean, folks, if you can't see, check us out on the streaming socials. You'll see Crudy is wearing a fine, looks like paying some homage to perhaps the late Jimmy Buffett with this tropical moo-moo you got going on, man. Wow.
It's not a moo-moo. It's a Hawaiian shirt. Have you never seen a Hawaiian shirt? I see many
not quite
stepdad-looking middle-aged Wisconsinites wearing the Hawaiian shirt on the weekend.
How long is it not
Friday
a boogaloo boy? You're not a boogaloo boy, are you, man? Right? Those the fascists wear some Hawaiian shirts sometimes too. Hey, man, but I love to see you with a little color on you, man. You're looking good.
Well, I'm nice and tan. I got my Badger lid. You know, it's a big Badger weekend playing against Washington State University. That game will stream across the Civic Media Network. Now you got me talking sports, Tom. WRJN, our flagship. You can listen in the Milwaukee Metro, 1400 AM, and always streaming live on WRJN. Get the Civic Media app. But the Badgers tomorrow night, 6:30. Looking forward to that big game. And later in this big showdown, we're going to have Mike Clemens, our sports director. And he will be in Chicago this weekend because Packers kickoff game of the week, 3:25 p.m. on Sunday. And we've also got that for you across the Civic Media Network in various markets. Now, we can't stream the Packers, unfortunately, but we're playing them for you on WRJN, our sports flagship. Again, 1400 AM, that's the one you can start with. And then if you're local, you can find the 99.9 in Racine and 98.1 in Kenosha. But we got you covered at 1400 AM in Milwaukee. Listen to our Packer coverage. You've been listening to the Packers on the AM for 100 years. Why change now? You know, not that heartless radio signal, not them. Us. Come to us.
Yeah, come to us. Come on.
And that game, Dom, did I mention that I am of the opinion that the Bears still suck? And we will talk about that.
I know you are, but my glorious Lions were victorious last night, Michael. Did you watch some of that game?
I did, in fact. You and I, I watched that game because you and I were texting back and forth. You know, go Lions, meow.
Didn't they win the Super Bowl last year? Right. And the Lions, they won 21-20. It was a hell of a game. They pulled through on the road. Hear the roar, baby. Number 1 in the NFC North, man. Longest winning streak in the NFC North.
This year so far, till somebody else plays. Well, congrats to your Lions, man. Enjoy it while you can. Because on September 28th, that's a Thursday night, the Lions are coming to Lambeau. And it's going to be all over but the crying, fella.
We'll see. Well,
I'll have much trash talking going on. We're going to be at a watch party. Dom, we've got some plans. Plans to have a good time coming up in the foreseeable weeks.
Plan to have a good time, Crudy. It's a matter of where we're having that good time.
Well, we know a couple of dates for sure, Dom. And should we start telling the people? I think we've.
Why not? If we got something nailed down, we could share it. Absolutely. We want people to come and hang out, party with us.
We don't so much as permission, as you know, we'll ask and get apologies, give apologies. What do you do when you don't ask permission? You just go on the road.
Rather ask
Road
for
trip.
forgiveness than for permission.
We'll ask for forgiveness later. But we're coming to a town near you all across the state of Wisconsin. Here's what we know for surezies. Next Friday night, we will be broadcasting near the Leinenkugels Brewing Company from the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, I believe, grounds in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, for their Chippewa Falls Oktoberfest ceremonies, Dom. I mean, you know, two guys know how to Oktoberfest. It's you and I. So we'll be doing that. That's already booked. So I know we'll be there. We're hopefully going to be joined by a couple of the third CD candidates. And I know Pat Kreitlow, our morning host here, you know, Up North News, Civic Media, Pat's got us on the calendar. So we're going to party with Pat that day.
Nice.
So 1 week from today, we'll be partying in Chippewa Falls at the Oktoberfest. But that's not all, Dom.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. And at least 2 other dates we can safely announce. The other date, Dom, another Oktoberfest, the original. La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh.
You knew.
Going home, baby.
Now that we being Civic Media, not you and I per se, but Civic Media has, and we play on a fine affiliate in La Crosse, Wisconsin, the Eagle. Here it's Soar. The Eagle 14. That's a different one. That's the Shaw. Caw the Shaw.
Oh, okay.
The Eagles, you got to get an Eagle call. Work on that for us, Nate, please. The Eagle 1490 AM will be our originating station on September 29th, because, Dom, it is my intent to take you to Oktoberfest in La Crosse. We will soar with the Eagles and party with the Owls or something. We'll probably stay late that night. I've got a hotel room for that night.
Good. All right.
On the river, no falling in, fella.
No, the river. It's a tough one.
Hopefully the smiley face killer has moved on.
Passed on. Let's hope.
Some don't even know what we're talking about. Sometimes we don't even know. So we're going to La Crosse on September 29th, but Don, we referenced that Lions-Packers game. So the obvious choice would be go to Green Bay, right? So we're going to take the less obvious choice because, you don't want to do the obvious. The less obvious choice, we're going to party with our friends and fans of the Packers. A little politics, then Packers in Richland Center. In my understanding, our friend Henry Bray, who is our sales director down there, he's working out the details with the local bowling alley. We're going to do, a Packer watch party.
Oh,
That'll be a
nice.
7:15 start. So we're going to broadcast until 6, your Packer pregame show on WRCE, and then the Packers will play on the big 100.9 WRCO, but we'll be partying with the people in Richland Center that day. And Dom, I understand you're going to miss a couple shows, so I'm going to go party without you. I don't need you to party. I don't need you to go out with the people. So tentatively, I'm thinking Green Bay without you, man. We'll see how it goes.
Come on, man. You go up north without me, man.
Well,
Green Bay like my backyard.
Yeah, well, you can go to Green Bay. We can go Green Bay next game. We'll find a Monday nighter or something. We'll go back to Green Bay. But, I might have to go that week without you because I've already got the offer of a Fine Code Devil for Thursday, September 21st. And, I'm looking to replace you perhaps.
Good luck.
A lot of that going around this week.
Yeah.
Also, did I mention on this big show, Dom, we're going to air the grievances, of course. It's Friday. That is our method. And it could be yours. We can be your therapy. Cry on our shoulders if you need.
Cry on each other's shoulders. Give each other some hugs.
844-967-2789. But Democratic Party of Wisconsin chairman, call him the Rainmaker, Ben Wikler, joining us at 4:30 today. Going to talk about supporting Protasiewicz. And she's under fire, Dom. And I think, at least topically, that's maybe where we want to start today. Did you see there was a little opinion piece at the New York Times? And the headlines, sometimes they're on track and sometimes they're off track. But, tell me what you think of this headline, you and the audience. A breathtaking contempt for the people of Wisconsin.
That sounds about right.
September 8th, this first published, Jamel Bouyer has this to say. For more than a decade, dating back to the Republican triumph in the 2010 midterm elections, Wisconsin Republicans have held their state legislature in an iron lock, forged by a gerrymander so stark that nothing short of a supermajority of voting public could break it. Now he starts getting into some wonky details. I don't mind. In 2012, the first year the maps were in effect, Republicans won 46% of the statewide vote, but 60% of the seats in the state assembly. In 2014, Republican won the governorship, that was the wanker, by 52% of the vote, which gave them 63% of the seats in the assembly. In 16, Republicans and Democrats essentially split the statewide vote, but Republicans claimed 64% of the seats in the assembly. Down by 2018, the gerrymander proved strong enough to allow the Wisconsin Republicans to win a supermajority of seats in the assembly, despite losing the vote for every statewide office and the statewide legislative vote by 8 percentage points, 54 to 46%. So if you understand what he's saying there, Republicans on the legislative ballot earned 46% of the vote. And, Dom, my understanding, what is the majority they earned ultimately? Well, we'll have to read on. The statewide legislative vote by 8 percentage points, 54 to 46. Again, Democrats earning 54, Republicans 46. No matter how much Wisconsin voters might want to elect a Democratic legislature, the Republican gerrymander won't allow them to. The gerrymander alone undermines Wisconsin's status as a democracy. If a majority of people cannot, under any realistic circumstance, elect a legislative majority of their choosing, then it's hard to say whether they actually govern themselves. Folks, we are the devil's advocates. We'll talk more about this. What's the headline again? A breathtaking contempt for the people of Wisconsin. Talking to you, Robin Foss, you Republican legislatures. We're going to take this show on the road. Take it to the people. The Fall in Love hometown tour. Dom and Crute, devil's advocates, and you could be there. You could party with us. We're the fun people. We do this for a living. Imagine you could put this down on your lifetime bucket list. I partied with the devil's advocates. It's always a party up in here. Stick around or join us, 844-96-PARTY.
Think again. The Madison Gay Hockey Association is the largest LGBTQ league in the world. We strive to offer hockey to people who've never had the chance to strap on skates before and welcome everyone regardless of gender, sexuality, or socioeconomic status. If you'd like to support our scholarship and gear assistance programs or view our game schedule, please visit our website at madisongayhockey.org. That's madisongayhockey.org.
Wisconsin traditions have been built for years around the Badgers, game day, and the mascot. But lead miners are the original Badgers in the state, not the animal or the mascot. It was the 1820s, and the miners often didn't have shelter in the winters, so they lived like badgers by digging tunnels into the hillsides to stay warm and sleep where they worked. It led to the reason why today you really can't think of Wisconsin without thinking Badgers. For Civic Media, I'm Terry Barr.
Saturdays and Sundays at 1, don't miss Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, featuring legendary Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. Football, life, and fun.
Earl, you've been driving a Yugo. They just gave you a brand new Ferrari with turbo boost. So enjoy it, brother.
Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. Saturdays and Sundays at 1 on the Civic Media Network and on the Civic Media app.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 48 tonight under mainly clear skies, northeasterly winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Mainly sunny tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 76. 55 tomorrow night, overcast. Highs around 76 Sunday with a chance for scattered showers. Chance for scattered storms, 68 on Monday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
On the road again.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday to us all, airing the grievances. And stick around. Ben Wikler, chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, going to join us at 4:30. But Crute, let's get back to this Jamel Bowie.
Booyah!
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to trust your pronunciation.
I took 2 years of French.
Oui.
You cochon.
Come on. Is it Louis Butler or Louis Butler? I just want to know which one it is, Mr. French. The breathtaking contempt for the people of Wisconsin, writes Jamel in the opinion piece of the New York Times. Very timely. Of course, Wisconsin getting another look nationally because the Wisconsin Republicans are looking to throw out Janet Protasiewicz because she threatens them. He goes on to write, and I want to repeat this paragraph, Crute, and we'll jump back into it. The gerrymandering alone undermines Wisconsin's status as a democracy. If a majority of the people cannot, under any realistic circumstances, elect a legislative majority of their choosing, then it's hard to say whether they actually govern themselves. Yes, it certainly is. What makes the situation worse are the actions of Republican lawmakers. Using their gerrymandered majority, Wisconsin Republicans have done everything in their power to undermine, subvert, or even nullify the public's attempt to chart a course away from the Republican Party. In 2018, for example, Wisconsin voters put Tony Evers, a Democrat, in the governor's mansion, sweeping the incumbent Scott Walker out of office. Almost immediately, Wisconsin Republicans introduced legislation to weaken the state's executive branch, curbing the authority that Walker had exercised as governor. Earlier this year, Wisconsin voters took another step toward ending a decade of Republican minority rule in the legislature by electing Janet Protasiewicz, a liberal Milwaukee County judge, to the state Supreme Court in one of the most high-profile and expensive judicial elections in American history. The reason behind the flood of money and attention was straightforward. If she won, Protasiewicz would break the conservative majority on the court, giving liberal justices an opportunity to shape the state's legal landscape until at least the next judicial election cycle. And Protasiewicz made no secret of her views. If elected, she said she would defend abortion rights and give a new look at the state's legislative maps, which she criticized as rigged and unfair. Protasiewicz won a double-digit victory with record turnout.
You're welcome, Wisconsin.
Wanted her on the court to stand up for their reproductive and voting rights. Wisconsin Republicans can't strip a judicial officer of her power, but they can remove her, which is what they intend to do. A quote. Republicans in Wisconsin are coalescing around the prospect of impeaching a newly seated liberal justice on the state's Supreme Court. My newsroom colleague Reed Epstein reports. The push just 5 weeks after Justice Janet Protasiewicz joined the court, and before she has heard a single case, serves as a last-ditch effort to stop the new 4-3 liberal majority from throwing out Republican-run legislative maps and legalizing abortion in Wisconsin. That's what Epstein said. Jamal goes on to write, Republicans have more than enough votes in the Wisconsin State Assembly to impeach Protasiewicz and just enough votes in the Senate, 2/3 majority, to remove her. But removal would allow Governor Evers to appoint another jurist, liberal jurist, which is why Republicans don't plan to convict and remove Protasiewicz. If instead the Republican-led state Senate chooses not to act on impeachment, Justice Protasiewicz is suspended but not removed. The court would then revert to a 3-3 deadlock, very likely preserving the Republican gerrymander and keeping a 19th century abortion law which bans the procedure on the books. If successful, Wisconsin Republicans will have created, in effect, an unbreakable hold on state government. With their gerrymander in place, they have an almost permanent grip on the state legislature with supermajorities in both chambers. With these majorities, they can limit the reach and power of any Democrat elected to statewide office and remove or neutralize any justice who might rule against the gerrymander. It's that breathtaking contempt, Crute, for the people of Wisconsin, who have voted since 2018 for a more liberal state legislature and a more liberal state Supreme Court and a more liberal governor with the full powers of his office available to him. That makes the Wisconsin Republican Party the most openly authoritarian in the country.
Yup. A little bit more from Bouye at the New York Times. Of course, there's nothing yet written in stone. Wisconsin Republicans might, for the first time, show an ounce of restraint. I know it's hard to say. And refrain from taking this radical step against self-government if they choose otherwise. Justice Protasiewicz could sue, citing her First Amendment right to free speech. The Republican case against her, after all, is that she disparaged their gerrymander in her campaign, making making her biased. The scheme could also backfire. If Protasiewicz were to resign following an impeachment, the state would hold a new election next year. Wisconsin Republicans might face an angry and mobilized electorate in a presidential year, and you can bet your ass we're going to make sure that happens. Regardless of how this specific situation plays out, it illustrates a broader problem in the structure of American political life, in the absence of national regulation, and against the backdrop of a federal Supreme Court that is, at best, apathetic on the issues of voting rights. States are as liable to make laboratories of autocracy as they are to serve as laboratories of democracy. And without federal intervention to enforce a Republican form of government, as the Constitution phrases it, the voters themselves have no other choice but to leave for greener pastures if they hope to govern themselves. There are those who say that the states as semi-sovereign entities with broad discretion over their internal affairs, is the point of the American system. That this is the design, the framers' intent, that this is tenable when the difference between the states is one of tax policies or the extent of the social safety net. This is not when the issues turn to fundamental issues of political and civil rights. Wisconsin, it seems, is simply the latest flashpoint over a larger question being contested in different arenas across different areas of concern. What is the scope and the power of the states? What is the meaning of American citizenship? And what rights do we actually have in theory and in practice? Well, very few, if Republicans in the state of Wisconsin get their way. Again, this opinion piece, headlined, "A Breathtaking Contempt for the People of Wisconsin." We're going to have the Democratic Party chair, Ben Wikler. He's going to join us next. We're going to talk about those Republicans. They don't love us. They don't even like us. More devils. We love you. Come on back.
All right. Thank you very much.
Except maybe Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Rena Roy. A court-released report from the grand jury in the Georgia racketeering case shows the jury recommended a bigger list of people to be charged beyond the 19 already facing charges, including former President Trump. ABC's Aaron Katursky says Senator Lindsey Graham was on the list.
Some of them, including some of the fake electors who would have certified that Trump won the state, even though he lost it, ended up getting recommended for charges. They ended up cooperating with the district attorney, so we know some of them at least reached cooperation deals. But why the senators ultimately weren't charged, we're not sure. But it shows that this case had the possibility to be even bigger, more expansive than it already is.
President Biden in India for the G20 Economic Summit. He's promoting U.S. funding for developing countries over China and Russia. Severe storms sweeping across the country as cooler air mixes with extreme heat from Texas to the Northeast today. This is ABC News.
For Mad Radio WMDX, I'm Nate Weggehout. Here's what you need to know in the Madison area. The first week of school is wrapping up in the Madison Metropolitan School District, and school buses are still struggling to stay on time. One grandparent says that they waited 3 hours for her 5-year-old grandson. When the bus finally arrived, the child was found asleep on the bus. Her student told Channel 3000 News that drivers are supposed to check the bus for any sleeping students at the end of their route.
like to be the rainmaker? I wonder what
plane came to pick everyone up a few hours later. I'm Nate Woogiehout, and this is Mad Radio WMDX Madison.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
Experience Nightlight, September 8th and 9th from 5 until 10:30 p.m. Presented by Joy Engine. The dazzling spectacle is an immersive 4D light festival taking place in Milwaukee's historic Mitchell Street neighborhood. Digital animations, dance, music, art, and fashion combine to create a visual, family-friendly sensory experience outside of 710 West Historic Mitchell Street, home of Mitchell Street Arts. The event is family-friendly and free to the public. Don't miss this iconic event. Nightlight, where art comes to life. Information at joyengine.org.
Stock up and save on the toughest filters in the business during Wix Filters sale days at your local Auto Value Parts store. Not only will you get the best deal of the season on our very best filters, but you'll also find deep discounts on oil, fluids, grease, batteries, and more. Upgrade your filters during Wix Filters sale days at your local Auto Value Parts store. See store for official sale dates. Auto Value. We've got the parts. We've got the smarts.
Up North News Radio with Pat Kreitlow, Wisconsin's home for daily conversations about the state's latest headlines and stories. Weekday mornings from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Well, I wonder what it's like to be the rainmaker.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Airing the grievances, joined by a guest soon, we hope. Ben Wikler, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chairman. I don't think Ben would stand us up. He must be momentarily detained. So we'll see if the Rainmaker can join us soon. Ben, if you're struggling with the StreamYard, call us 844-967-2789. Dom, so we, of course, have the threatened, at this point, it's just a threat, impeachment of Protasiewicz. Oh, and Ben is ready to join us, so let's not delay. The eagerly anticipated guest, chairman of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. We'd like to thank friend of the Devil's Advocates. He answered today. He's Ben Wikler. Welcome to the greatest radio show ever. Some say, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
I hope I qualify as a friend of the Devil's Advocates. I'm certainly a fan. It's good to see both of you. I am so mad right now, you guys. This is unbelievable what they're threatening here. The fact of the threat alone is so extreme and so unacceptable. It is putting a gun to the head of a state Supreme Court justice and saying, don't do your job or we will pull the political trigger. And just by itself, it's already undermining our system of government. If they go through with it, it is a shockwave to anyone in office that you could be impeached simply on the basis of disagreeing with the people in power. And that is not how our system is supposed to work.
Now, Ben, you're the Democratic Party chair, but this seems more like a small d democracy kind of an issue, less than a Democratic Party issue per se.
100%. I mean, when Robin Voss first started talking about this, I was like, I hope the whole state responds in unequivocal terms that this is unacceptable. I hope the Republican legislators say that this is unacceptable and this thing gets shut down. But he kept talking about it. And we started getting word. We saw right-wing talk radio hosts posting that they were actually trying to round up the votes. So at some point, I think it's on all of us. And as a Democratic Party chair, I'm speaking up, almost as much as or more as a citizen than as a party leader. I think everyone who's speaking up at this moment, we're defending the Constitution because the Constitution does not envision this. This is an abuse, an unconstitutional abuse of power. Our Constitution says impeachment is for crimes, misdemeanors, corrupt conduct in office, and that's it. And she hasn't heard a single case. She's done nothing wrong. Everything she's done since the moment she was sworn in a month and a week ago has been by the books. So what are they doing? It is a power move, and it's got to backfire on them so they never even think about doing something like this again.
Ben Wikler, Democratic Party chair, great state of Wisconsin. Ben, we suspect in some of the reporting we've seen and some of the strategizing I've heard on right-wing talk radio is effectively they don't need to impeach her. But the simple act of moving, and it would only take a simple majority in the assembly, and they could give cover fire to any unwilling to vote Republicans in the assembly because they'd have votes to burn on the assembly side. But this simple action of moving forward with the impeachment, well, this could be a delay tactic forever, Ben, because the Republicans and the Senate never have to vote on this. They never have to bring closure. They never have to put a bad vote on the record even, Ben. All they have to do is basically sideline her by moving through the assembly. Is that the strategy, perhaps, sir?
So there's an article on Vox.com today that is currently the number 2 article on the entire website. And the headline is "The Republican Party's Plan to Rule the State of Wisconsin Forever Explained." And it just explains exactly what you just said. They have noticed that there's a little loophole in the Constitution. It's clearly not what the framers of our Constitution intended, but it doesn't say how fast or require a specific time frame for a Senate trial to convict someone who's been impeached by the state assembly. And so Republicans, I think, believe that they've found a loophole that could allow them to cruise right through, to vote to impeach Janet Protasiewicz. They could have 14 Republicans could vote against impeachment, and they'd still have a majority because they're gerrymander. And then she's suspended, cannot rule, cannot do anything in office. And then the Senate sits on its hands. Now, that is their theory, but there's a couple big problems with it. The first one is try testing that out in court, you guys.
Right.
The idea, like in other states, when there have been impeachments, courts have already ruled on things like, oh, you're not allowing the person you're impeaching to call witnesses. Well, that's a violation of their due process rights. There's a whole bunch of law about this in impeachment all over the country. If they think that they can just waltz through and suspend someone, overturn an election with 1 million voters and suspend someone and have that stand up in a court of law, they are really not thinking about this very carefully. The second thing is that the state Senate is going to face massive, massive pressure. And there are enough Republicans in districts that Janet Protasiewicz won that if all those people lose their reelections, Democrats get the majority in the state Senate. So the idea that all those senators are going to sit around and be fine with month after month of constant overwhelming pressure saying this is not constitutional, you've got to acquit. I mean, good luck with that. I think the Republican Party is they're playing with fire in a dynamite factory here. This is the most hideously small d democratic thing that you can do to try to nullify the votes of 1 million voters. And I can tell you from talking to Democrats all across the state, people are furious. People are furious, and every single Republican will be on record for how they vote in the state assembly and then whether they vote in the state Senate. And this is going to be the defining act of their political careers. You can't just overturn someone's election. You can't nullify an election and not face consequences. So I mean, as much as this is bad politics for Republicans, I wish with every fiber of my being that this weren't happening, because this is bad for our democracy. They should announce that they've done a review and this doesn't meet the constitutional standard for impeachment, and they should move on, take the L and move on. Because as long as they keep charging forward with this, it gives people the idea, it gives politicians, and I hate to say this, but I could imagine, it gives, regardless of party, it gives politicians this fantasy that if they have a majority, they can impeach people they don't like. And that is not how democracy works.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That's Ben Wikler. He is the chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Thank you for joining us, Ben. The pushing back on this, it comes in all sorts of ways, right? Call your local legislator, get out, rally, do things, spend money, for example. And I saw that the Democratic Party, Ben, you're going to have a spend on this. You want to get people informed of what's going on. $1 million from the Democratic Party, my understanding, and be matched by with another $3 million from other outside organizations. Ben, what's the timeline, and what are you hoping to accomplish by doing so?
All this could be this month. And it depends on how long Republicans want to drag this out. I will also say that if they actually move forward with impeachment, and then we enter a longer period where the public needs to ensure that Republican state senators actually vote, and then the accountability on this, the assembly people who just voted, this could get vastly bigger. This is the first salvo to make sure that Republicans actually face some consequences and accountability for what they're doing. And people clicking and donating online at WisDems.org, it's through the roof right now. People contacting me and asking how they can help, not just donating, but volunteering. People are knocking on doors in Republican legislative districts night after night after night to tell voters what Republicans are trying to do. They're texting people. They're reaching out on social media. They're making phone calls to voters to tell them Republicans are trying to nullify your vote. Contact your state legislator now. And again, this is early days in something that could get far bigger than this. This is a profound threat to the basic system of government of this country. And treating this as a regular political issue, there's big debates happening right now about important things. Childcare. Republicans don't want to support expanded childcare. Democrats do. A debate over taxes. Republicans want to give another big tax cut for the rich. Governor Evers says, I'll give a tax cut to the middle class, but not the wealthiest people. That stuff is what politics is supposed to be about, where each side does their best to get elected, and then they try to find a compromise and argue about principles about what our policy should be. But this is not part of what politics is supposed to be about. Removing people from office because you disagree with them is beyond the pale. And if the GOP goes forward with this, they're going to find out what happens next.
Ben, not to play Monday morning quarterback, but if Dan Knodel in the special election had not gotten elected, we wouldn't be here. That gave them the super majority. Jody Haber-Shinnikin, his opponent, the Democrat, good candidate, I thought, lost, not by very much, but lost by enough, obviously. What was the support for Jody Haber-Shinnikin during that race from the Dem Party? Do you think whatever it was, should there have been more? Should have this been on the horizon? What are your thoughts as we look back now from then to where we are now?
So I'll say three things. First is Democratic Party of Wisconsin, we were able to raise and contribute more than $500,000 to her state Senate special election, which, as far as I know, is more than the state party ever contributed to any candidate for the state legislature before I became chair, in our history. Not most of the years they didn't have the current laws. So we did a lot. That said, if I could go back in time and find more resources and send them her way, I absolutely would. She lost. She was in a race that she was supposed to lose in a landslide. That was rigged to be, at least 9-point Republican victory in a 50-50 election year. She lost by 1.7 points. She did much better than even the polls that we had privately before the election suggested were possible. She was a great candidate. She worked her tail off. She had an amazing team. She did everything right. And I wish that I could go back in time and help her to cross the finish line. So 1, we did a lot. 2, I wish we'd done more. 3, I don't know, even if she'd won, Robin Vos still might be pulling the stunt because as we've talked about here, I don't think he has the votes in the state Senate to convict. This seems more about using the assembly to try to suspend her. And in that scenario, Democrats could have a majority in the state Senate. Well, no, then they would hold the trial and acquit right away. Democrats could have a 1-seat deficit in the state Senate, and Republicans could still pull this trick. This is really, really ugly politics. And we need to make sure that they don't even think about this as an option going forward.
Devil's Advocates Radio Show, our fine guest, Ben Wikler, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair. So, Ben, I have been sort of theorizing they may go through with this, that this bad politics is just what the doctor ordered for Robin Vos and his team. So they go to the floor, both the Assembly and the Senate, this Thursday on the 14th of September. Ben, do you expect we're going to know this week, this upcoming week, if this is quote unquote, a viable action, whether or not Republicans intend to move forward with this?
It could happen fast. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen that with Act 10. We've seen that with the lame duck power grab. They put out their bill with basically 24 hours of notice in terms of business days. Given that they're already in legislative session, they don't have to do notice this time. It's not a special session. They can just put a bill on the floor as a privilege motion and pass it. However, that would be breaking with all precedent in terms of how impeachment is supposed to work. There's supposed to be an investigation. There's supposed to be a trial. They could run into serious legal trouble if they try to pull this without any kind of due process. And, I think the more the public is heard, I think the more that they slow down and start making sure they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's. If you'd asked me a week ago, I would have said, if you asked me on this Tuesday, I would have said, we might expect an impeachment vote this coming Tuesday. Those were the rumors flying around. Now it seems like they're slowing down and realizing this may not be the quick win that they thought, the easy way to solve their political problems. And the more the public speaks up, the slower I think they're going to be. They need to find an off-ramp, and they need to find it fast. And we're going to keep on pushing until they do.
Ben Wikler, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair. We had a friend, a caller yesterday, Lake Forest, Illinois, I believe. People from other states want to know how they can help in this action. Ben, obviously money helps, but how else could people help?
Well, if you go to defendjustice.com, we'll put a link there that out-of-state listeners can click and call Protasiewicz voters in Wisconsin and make sure they know what Republicans are trying to do. These are people in Republican legislative districts. They can call them, let them know, and tell them how they can contact their legislators. So we welcome volunteers from across the country to get the word out to every Wisconsinite who's represented by one of these folks who's thinking about an impeachment. And we're gonna make sure that the public's voice is heard on this thing.
Ben Wikler, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chair. Thank you for coming around. You remain a friend of the Devil's Advocates.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
All right, Ben, be well. Come back. The rest of you, more Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. Air your grievances up in here. 844-967-2789.
Stop hassling me.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's Friday. Airing the grievances. You can join us. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, Democratic Party of Wisconsin chairman, Ben Wikler. I like to call him the rainmaker. Makes it rain up in here. Friend of the Devil's Advocates. We'll keep having him around, I suspect, because there's lots of Republican malfeasance afoot. And it's not just the threatened impeachment of Janet Protasiewicz. Let's not forget the travails of Megan Wolf, because she's coming before the Senate, at least the committee, that Dan Knodel guy, on Monday.
Oh, that guy, his
Monday.
name keeps popping up. It's like a bad penny.
Journal Sentinel reporting, Dom, a key Senate committee is moving forward with a plan that could result in ousting Wisconsin's top election officials, plural, it says, less than a year before voters begin the process of selecting the next president.
Great timing.
Yes. Couldn't be better. The State Senate Committee overseeing elections will hold a vote on whether to reappoint Wisconsin Elections Commissioner Administrator Megan Wolf, despite legal opinions issued by the legislature's own attorneys and Democratic Attorney General Josh Call, concluding her appointment is not legally before the Senate. I know I butchered that. Call and the legislature's attorneys say Megan Wolf's appointment is not legally before the Senate. You know, the whole bad math thing down.
Legally schmegally, whatever. They don't care.
Now, your Senator, Dan Knodel, Republican from Germantown, scheduled a committee vote on Wolf's appointment on Monday. He told the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel last Tuesday, following a public hearing for her position, that he was undecided whether to hold a vote and win, I guess, Monday, Dom. And here's the less than courageous part. The committee will vote by paper ballot on Wolf's position instead of during an in-person hearing in the state capitol, which means members of the committee will not be available to answer questions about their votes. They're going to do it behind closed doors, effectively, Dom. Knodel's office will collect the ballots on Monday, and he'll tell us the outcome.
Oh, great.
A spokesman for Knodel on Friday said Knodel is fulfilling his constitutional duties based on Republicans' adoption of a resolution earlier this year to take up Wolf's nomination, which directed Senate President Chris Kapinga, you know what we think of him, Dom, Republican from Delafield, to refer Wolf's nomination to Knodel's committee for a recommendation. Well, I got a recommendation for Knodel's committee, Dom.
Crudy, but state law requires the bipartisan Wisconsin Elections Commission to reappoint Wolf with 4 votes, which did not occur. As a result, Call and the Nonpartisan Legislative Council have issued memos saying Wolf's confirmation is not properly before the committee. The legislature's attorneys have stated that an appointment or reappointment requires 4 votes of election commissioners under state law, a threshold Wolf has not reached because of procedural maneuvers made by the commission's Democratic members in an effort to keep her in the role. Wolf did not testify at last week's public hearing, citing Call's legal opinion that she's a lawful holdover and the Senate has no authority to act on her appointment. She did not respond to reporters' questions about her position at a Wisconsin Election Commission meeting on Thursday. At the hearing, clerks and Democratic WEC Commissioner Ann Jacobs defended Wolf as a respected elections official. Public testimony was dominated by individuals and groups who falsely believe in widespread fraud and who have narrowed in on Wolf. In a letter to committee members, Wolf explained that as administrator, she does not take votes on election rules. Even after the committee votes on Wolf's position, the full Senate would need to take up Wolf's confirmation to approve or reject her appointment. Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu, who argues that the commission's 3-0 vote constitutes a 2/3 majority to nominate Wolf to a new term, has refused to answer questions about whether and when the chamber will hold a vote on her position. Again, these Republicans, just bastions of confidence and, out there, but doing it for the people and transparency, not
for the people.
Yeah.
844-967-2789. It's Friday. Why must you call every day? CJ, why must you call every day, man? Don't you have a life outside this radio program?
Don't you have homes?
CJ, what's your opinion about what's happening in Wisconsin in regards to Janet Protasiewicz and maybe even Megan Wolf, if we can stay on topic?
I'd actually like to talk to Robin Voss and get a little bit more information, because it's not like the Republicans are really great at dirty politics. But I would say, after watching what was done to Trump and the Supreme Court, the way you guys kind of pick and choose the U.S. Supreme Court, and
I think Trump got the last 3 picks on that. If I remember, Merrick Garland. If you talk about dirty pool and hardball politics, buddy, what about Merrick Garland?
I mean, you mean the head of Biden's department?
No, I mean the guy that was nominated to the Supreme Court that never got an up or down vote. That guy.
You guys, the Democrat Party is better at dirty politics.
What about Merrick Garland's Supreme Court nomination, CJ? Who did it first, dude?
Didn't deserve it. No. Who ran the itinerary? The Republicans did. So
the itinerary, yeah. So they didn't give a man a fair up or down vote. And you're calling us the dirty tricksters.
If you cared about the way Trump was impeached over a phone call.
I don't care what you have to say anymore, CJ.
Perfect phone call.
Every one of your phone calls is a perfect phone call in your mind, CJ.
Yeah.
Just like Trump. 844-967-2789. Mark from the Sack, welcome back. Sorry to make you a shotgun behind that manure spreader.
Hey, Mark.
Good. Being behind a manure spreader would be more pleasant than what I just heard. That and you know, it just this stuff is just infectious. I don't know if you saw the picture of with Patrick Mahomes with a noose around his neck from one of the sports websites. That is just pretty disgusting. That. But I mean, this is how it's affected our society. I mean, that this kind of crap is acceptable at all. I mean, and that for dirty tricks, I mean, the Republican Party in the state of Wisconsin is the master of dirty tricks, and that for CJ to try to come up otherwise than that is just, I don't know.
Well,
I just
what we used to say, CJ, that's thin gruel. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Don't know if we got any more rainmakers, but we got our pal Mike Clemens coming in the Happier Happy Hour. Going to give us a little Packer preview, and we'll give you a chance to air your grievances up in here. Here's one of mine, Dom. Did you see today in the headlines, Lindsay Graham should have been criminally indicted in Georgia?
And he wasn't?
We got some sound from the quote-unquote defendant. More Devils.
The Senate Committee.
Find out what's going on in the world, the state, and in your own backyard. This is a Civic Media Network News Update.
It's 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Terry Bell, and here's what Wisconsin needs to know.
State lawmakers are set to vote next week on whether to fire Wisconsin's top elections official. As Nate Weggehaupt reports, it may not make a difference whether she gets to keep her job.
The Senate committee overseeing elections is set to vote Monday whether or not Megan Wolf should stay as elections administrator. That's despite legal opinions from both the state attorney general and the legislature's attorneys that say that they cannot legally rule either way. Republicans have been critical of Wolf for her handling of the 2020 presidential election. The committee will vote by paper ballot whether or not to fire Wolf, meaning that there will be no debate before the vote. However they vote, the full Senate will still need to take up the confirmation. Nate Weggehaupt, Civic Media News.
A group of U.S. House Republicans wants $4 billion in cuts to the Environmental Protection Agency in exchange for their votes against a government shutdown later this month. Environmentalists say that would jeopardize efforts to eliminate PFAS pollution. Betsy Sutherland is a former EPA official who worked on water safety.
The cuts are incredibly short-sighted. 2 weeks ago, EPA released PFAS monitoring data for 2,000 drinking water systems that show multiple PFAS chemicals are in the drinking water of over 26 million people.
PFAS are among the most stubborn toxic compounds to get rid of. That's why they're called forever chemicals. They're linked to cancer, birth defects, and a host of other health problems. The pandemic pause on student loan payments will soon be over. More than 70,000 people in Wisconsin are enrolled in a new federal program. As Mike Moan reports, it sets monthly bills based on discretionary income.
More than 4 million Americans have already signed up for the program known as SAVE. The Biden administration says it'll eliminate some debt completely, and others could save as much as 40% a month. Robert Farrington of the College Investor website says it's aggressive in helping those overwhelmed with debt.
There have been income-driven repayment plans for the last 15 to 20 years. However, none of them have offered payments this low at 5% of your discretionary income.
The Biden program was recently announced after a separate student loan forgiveness plan was struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. Opponents of the initiative have said it will burden taxpayers. I'm Mike Moen.
State government workers are still waiting for their pay raises. Even though Governor Evers signed the state budget into law in July, the pay raises within still have to be approved by the Joint Committee on Employee Relations. The State Journal reports the committee is waiting for the nonpartisan Legislative Fiscal Bureau to finish reviewing the plan. And that's what Wisconsin needs to know. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, working for the weekend. It's almost here, fellas. 5 o'clock on a Friday, the happy hour. We got a big UW kickoff tomorrow night, playing against Washington State University. You can hear it right here on the Civic Media. You can stream that game, or you can listen to it live. WRJNR sports flagship in the Milwaukee Metro, 1400 AM. And then the Packers kicking off. Game of the week, Fox Sunday afternoon, 3:25 Central Time kickoff. Did we mention the Bears still suck?
I think you did once or twice.
They do. They do. In my humble opinion, they do. And we have superior starting quarterback. I'm trash talking already.
Yeah, I know. Have you seen a line yet, though, Kurt? That's what I want to know.
I look up the line. Jared Goff had a good game last night.
Yeah, man.
Your boy, goodish game.
Come on. That was a stellar game. It was a hard-fought game. Now, here's what you got to know about my Lions, man. You know, they usually lose games.
Yow.
They get close, and they can't close it out, or, you know, something happens, or the refs are against them. You know, it's just the
story of my life.
Right.
Can't close the deal.
But last night, they closed the deal. You can hear the roar in Wisconsin from Michigan. Tomorrow, Crute, the Green Bay Sunday. Green Bay
325.
1.5, 1.5 points.
Well, you got to have at least 1 point more to win. Not going to end on a tie.
So actually,
in probability,
it's Chicago giving up 1.5. So Packers are getting points.
Underdogs.
Yes, on the road.
Generally, home field gives you about 3.
3, right.
So we'll have to reciprocate that earlier conversation.
Yeah.
You know, if you're taking the Lions, I'm taking the Packers.
All right, man.
Let's just say that. I'll take my chances as well. We'll take our chances on Civic Media Sports Director Mike Clemens joining us 5:30 today. He'll be in Chi-Town covering the game on Sunday, and we'll be kicking it off on WRJN. That's 1400 AM Milwaukee. Listen to ours. Our Packers, our Badgers, please. That's why we got this station for you. For the politics, but also the sports. And there's going to be high school sports, of course. Friday night football kicking off all across the network later this evening. We got Pizza Box Mike here in Madison and Diamond Crute. The Fall Love Hometown Tour 2023 hitting the road next week. And our friend up in our other friend, the guy I called, said, yeah, schedule's open. Come see me next week, boys.
All right. Well, we're working on it.
We're putting all the dates together. Next Friday, though, that's a definite. Going up to see Jeannie in Chippewa Falls, the Tap 93.5 land. Going up there because It's Oktoberfest. There's a party
Yeah,
going on,
baby.
Dom.
Oktoberfest in September. I love it.
And then we've also, know for sure, will be in Richland Center doing a Packer watch party the night the Packers play the Lions, Dom. That's September 28th. That's a Thursday night. We'll be in Richland Center, Wisconsin. I believe the bowling alley, the venue, politics, then Packers. And then the 29th, it'll be straight partying, man. We'll be at Oktoberfest in La Crosse like the old days, my friend. And we'll take you with. We're going to take you, the audience, with. We're going to party with you all across this great state. And you're going to be gone a couple days, but I got some plans for that week as well. 844-967-2789. That's the grievance hotline for Fridays. Here's one I got, Dom. Washington Post. The reporting, and they have released a report out of Georgia. There was the prior grand jury, right? The investigatory grand jury. And we come to find out today, they recommended a hell of a lot more charges than were actually leveled by Fani Willis. And one of the ones they thought should have been charged was sitting U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, that's not the prosecutor, folks. That's what the grand jury thought. And he gave testimony before that grand jury, not pled the fifth. He went and gave testimony, and they said, that guy looks like a criminal. A little bit of the headline, a little bit of the reporting at the Washington Post, and then a little sound from the senator from South Carolina. Georgia's special grand jury recommended charging Lindsey Graham in Trump case. They didn't have to chase Trump. How fast can a golf cart go? An Atlanta area special grand jury that spent months investigating alleged 2020 election interference in Georgia by Donald Trump and his allies agreed the former president should be indicted in the case and also recommended charging one of Trump's closest associates, Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, due to Claire and 37 other people, a far larger group than a prosecutor ultimately charged. And the recommendations, again, a 26-page final report presented in January to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and made public by a judge today. The report by the special grand jury, which was an investigative body and did not have the power to issue criminal indictments, largely echoed Willis's theory of the case, recommending charges for Trump and numerous others alleging a sweeping criminal conspiracy to subvert Joe Biden's legitimate election win in Georgia. And a judge published the report at the request of the special grand jury. The jurors wanted it on the record, Tom, which cited a Georgia law that allows its recommendations to be made public. The document offered some rare insight into parts of an investigation typically marked by secrecy, not just on those who were indicted, but on those who weren't. But the report, which is not legally binding, does not include the evidence or reasoning behind the jury's thinking, though testimony transcripts and evidence are likely to emerge as part of criminal proceedings against those who were ultimately charged in the case. Well, we got some sound of our boy Lindsey Graham, or your pal than mine, Dom. When he Trump's pal? And then remember when Trump doxed him, released his cell phone number. Remember when he got out the golf club and he was taking swings at his own cell phone, had to destroy his cell phone because Trump publicly ridiculed the man. And now he has become the greatest Trump sycophant, a lapdog for the dude. Here's the sound of the senator, the esteemed senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham. I don't have the list, so let's start from the top.
All right, I got it.
So at the end of the day, nothing happened. What I did was consistent with my job as being a United States Senator, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, but it was just not me.
It was just
Dom, here's a little bit more of who it also included. The special grand jury's recommendation went beyond the charges Willis and her team ultimately pursued in the case, suggesting 20 other people. And here are a few of the names you may know. Lindsey Graham, Trump campaign attorney. She used to work at Foley and Laudner, right, Dom? Cleta Mitchell.
Cleta Mitchell, yes.
the college kids that can just roll out of bed and vote. That's
it's
a
too
bad
easy.
thing.
Too easy for those kids. What are we doing?
Trump advisor Boris Epshteyn, former Trump national security advisor Michael Flynn, he'd be a 3-time loser by now, right, Tom? Pro-Trump attorney Lynn Wood, and former senators. Look at this. Former senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, both Republicans from Georgia. They were senators at the time of the phone call. The special election didn't happen until a couple days later. They were the sitting senators at that time. So you've got 3 Republican senators named in this investigatory report from the grand jury in Georgia. One still sitting. We got more sound from him. Let's play more Lindsey Graham for our fair audience. Whatever comes second.
So we're opening up Pandora's box here. Fulton County is one of the most liberal jurisdictions in the country.
So what?
I fear this will spread.
Don't do your crime in there. Don't do your criming in a liberal county if you're worried about getting criminally charged in a supposed liberal district like Atlanta.
Graham continuing. Getting off the rails. Cut 3, please.
3 United States senators. We're opening up Pandora's box. I think the system in this country is getting off the rails, and we have to be careful not to use the legal system as a political tool.
Against me, is what he's really saying. Please don't charge me.
Wow. Senator Graham, cut 4, please.
Me, Senator Perdue, and Loeffler, I talked to them. They were concerned about it, so...
Yeah, everyone's concerned. Everybody's concerned. Oh, but he's still standing with Trump. Cut 5.
One thing I want people to know, I am standing with President Trump. I am proudly supporting him.
Probably.
Of course he is.
And he claims, and this is, I think, we can argue the fact, that he never asked to set aside ballots. Cut 6.
I asked him questions about the mail-in voting process. I never asked him to set aside ballots or anything else.
From the reporting of the Washington Post, Graham's calls to Raffensperger came weeks before Trump's infamous January 2021 phone call, in which the then president pressed Raffensperger to find enough votes to overturn the defeat in the state. Biden won by fewer than 12,000 votes. Raffensperger later told the Washington Post he felt pressured by other Republicans, including Lindsey Graham, who he said echoed Trump's claims about voting irregularities in the state. He claimed that Graham, on one call, appeared to be asking him to find a way to set aside legally cast ballots. Again, Lindsey Graham ain't from Georgia. This is not part of his legislative responsibilities as a U.S. senator.
Committee. Anything judicial, it's all very judicial, and I'm on the committee, so, it's me. And he may make a distinction between what? My understanding, the envelopes of those ballots and the ballots themselves. It makes no sense, Crute, and he will not be deterred in support Senator Graham. Senator Graham and other 2 senators as well listed in this report, not charged. Wonder why that is.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Your grievances could be next. 844-96-PARTY.
My name is no. My sign is
Political
no.
talk.
My number
The
is
Devil's
no.
Advocates.
You need to let it go. You need to let it go. Need to let it go. I to the no, no, no.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday, airing the grievances. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I don't know if we'd call this breaking news, but a preemptive strike by an Assembly Republican, Wisconsin Rep. Scott Johnson. I will vote no on any attempted impeachment of Justice Janet Protasiewicz. Now, in his statement, which I just read, he states, and he represents the 33rd Assembly District, I believe that's Jefferson County. I was one of 1,839,656 voters who cast a ballot in the Supreme Court race. The end result was Janet Protasiewicz winning the race. The people spoke. I did not vote for candidate Protasiewicz. I certainly do not agree with Justice Protasiewicz, especially when it comes to her openness on election maps in our state. Elections have consequences. I will be honest in saying that I would encourage the justice to recuse herself from the case. And he underlines this part. However, I will not, all caps, vote in favor of impeachment. The people of Wisconsin have historically shown that they do not support uprooting a duly elected official on the sheer basis of political disagreement. Our court has shifted in a new direction, which is the consequence of an election. Wow, one reasonable Republican has said he will vote no. Commendable, Scott Johnson. See where you stand on other issues, but today, commendable, sir.
With an asterisk, he'll still want her recusal, but he won't force it. But so, what's your judgment based on what she said? They were She said they were rigged, and what Gableman's? Kelly said they're not rigged, but only the thing that she said. That's terrible. If the Republican were elected,
hey, come on, man, let's stop
anything about. Come on, I'm just telling you, man. I'm telling.
No, hey, let's give the guy a little bit of credit.
Come on, he's still asking for her recusal. What are you talking about?
He's asking. So what? I have the opinion that so-and-so should do such and such, but that opinion's worth about as much as zero. So his opinion on the matter does not matter. His vote, his choice to courageously say, you know what, elections have consequences. You don't hear many Republicans saying that anymore unless they think they won. When they lost, they don't say it. This guy said it. He doesn't have to agree with Protasiewicz's position, but he's not being a jacknut and saying he's going to vote for her impeachment. He's going to leave that to Robin Voss and about, 50 members of the caucus. Let's get to the phones. Few grievances from the people. 844-967-2789. Our pal Joe from Madison. Welcome, Joe. What do you got for us?
Hey, Joe.
I just wanted to respond, and I suppose I shouldn't, but I am going to because I think it's important, to our dear friend CJ, who said that Trump was impeached over a phone call. Let us stop for a moment.
Perfect phone call.
That would really be, a perfect phone call. I mean, he may not be, I don't know whether he's smart or stupid, but CJ, you sound stupid when you say that thing. You can look up what he was impeached for. It was obstruction of Congress and abuse of power. He gave a phone call to Zelensky in which he tried to shake him down to investigate Hunter Biden in return for military aid, which had been promised by Congress, but which a week before Trump had asked his chief of staff to suspend the $400 million in military aid to Ukraine. So here's this guy, Zelensky, who his country has just been invaded. He's just been elected president and invaded by Russia. For God's sakes, he's on the edge. And to shake somebody down like this, it's a mafia. It's a mafia move. It's absolutely a mafia
And Joe,
move.
what was the ask? You'll recall the ask was, we want you to investigate Joe Biden and Burisma. But let's understand that is a complex issue. And that didn't garner any Republican support. Of course, Trump's actions in the January 6th did garner some Republican support. There were some that voted to convict, which is kind of a big deal. But ultimately, the really big deal, Joe, we get to see it in trial. Trump the defendant. We're going to see it on Technicolor and 4K TV, and we'll play it for you on the Devil's Advocates, and we'll play it for you on the civic media.
Great.
You know what I
That'll
mean?
be
He's
wonderful.
not
I
going
look
to be able
forward
to
that.
escape the truth because the trial will be the truth. We'll see him in the trial.
And exactly. And I look forward to it. One of the advantages of your station is the truth comes through. And the truth is it wasn't a phone call. It was what was said in that phone call. In the same way that a mafia hitman can call to say yeah, I'm going to do the number. I'll shoot your wife. That is not just a phone call. That is evidence within a phone call.
I need you to find me 11,780 votes. One more than I need.
Just a phone call.
Exactly. Yeah.
Joe, appreciate
Thanks,
you
guys.
listening. We're going to sneak a few more grievances in before our fine guest, Mike Clemens, sports director, give you a little Packer preview coming up shortly. Tom from Grafton, you're next, though. What do you got for us, Tom?
Hello, Tom.
Well, hi guys. Hi. To listen to the Packers, that'd be on the AM 1400 out of Racine, Kenosha. Then is that?
Yes,
is that
sir.
right?
He gets all the way up to Mequon last time I was driving up there.
Okay. Along with that station, I'd called in earlier. I was wondering if that announcer from down there, from the other station, if he's going to be moving over, Lou Regani.
Lou Regani. Lou
Regani
is in conversations with the program director. Her name's Catherine Lake. We got a new programming team here at Civic Media, and I made the introductions, and I'm in Lou's corner, and there's going to be some role for Lou. But what that's going to look like, Tom, I mean, it's been a lot of no to Lou. Like, can I start this week? No, because we're not quite ready for you, Lou. So when we're ready, Tom, when we're ready, I swear there'll be some Lou Regani love on the Racine Kenosha airwaves on WRJN. In the meantime, you're going to have to suffer through with high school sports on Friday, Badger sports tomorrow night, and of course the Packers Sunday afternoon, my friend.
Okay.
Sports, then Lou Regani. Lou's later. Lou's like dessert. We got more sports coming right now. Sports director of the Civic Media Network. We found him, WRJN, and of course, through coverage at Lambeau Field, he is Mike Clemens. He will join us next. Give us a little Packer preview. They play the Bears this week. Bears still suck.
Untouchable.
Rodgers snaps it quick. Pressure coming. Scrambles to his right. Pumps and runs. Aaron Rodgers is inside the pylon. Touchdown Packers. It's Rodgers running for the score.
Right on cue, Joe. He had some choice words there for the crowd.
I looked up in the stands, and in the front row, all I saw was a woman giving me the double bird.
Talker, honestly. I mean, he just, like he said, last time he came here, he was saying he owned us and talking to the fans a certain way. So, I mean, we got to find a way to get that taste out of our mouth.
Makes it quick. Pressure coming. Scrambles to his right. Pumps and runs. Aaron Rodgers is inside the pylon. Touchdown Packers. It's Rodgers running for the score.
Right on cue, Joe. He had some choice words there for the crowd.
I looked up in the stands, and in the front row, all I saw was a woman giving me the double bird.
Talker. Honestly, I mean, he just, like you said, last time he came here, he was saying he owned us and talking to the fans a certain way. So, I mean, we got to find a way to get that taste out of our mouth.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, rolling through the Friday happy hour. Looking forward to a big kickoff. Packers 3:25 on Sunday. And we welcome back our sports director from Civic Media. He's Mike Clemens. Mike, are you in Chicago yet, man? Are you anticipating a big game this Sunday?
Rolling down tomorrow afternoon, spending the night in Chicago. But now, how you doing, Crute, Dom?
Hey, Mike.
I'm still at Lambeau Field right now, and we just got done with the locker room about an hour or so ago, talking to the players, and they posted out the final injury report for the game going this weekend.
Well, before we talk about possible injuries, let me ask you, is the deed transferable? Aaron Rodgers has owned these Bears for a long time. Is that transferable to Jordan Love?
You inherit that?
Listen, you're supposed to be objective when you're covering this, but one of the longtime beat reporters said when we were leaving practice the other day, he said, wouldn't it be great? We'll cover this game. It's going to be a good game, and kind of prime time at 3:25, nationally broadcast. He says, wouldn't it be great to cover this game, and Jordan Love gets the win, and then we get to listen to sports talk radio in Chicago and all those Bear fans whining and crying all the way home to Wisconsin. I'm thinking, that would be brilliant. That would be an awesome way to finish out the weekend.
Well, Mike Clemens, it's not like, and Justin Fields is obviously a talented quarterback, the quarterback of the Bears, but not when it comes to winning football games, not on the professional level, did just fine in college. But my understanding is he's 6-21 as a starter, and his lifetime quarterback rating in the NFL is under 80, Mike. So he's got a hell of a set of legs, never skip leg day. But can the guy be a pocket passer? Can he move the team down the field? And, can he be a winner on the NFL level, Mike? So far, he has not been.
He's got to be a pocket passer. He's not going to live very much longer in the NFL. Just ask Andrew Luck. No, that offensive line last year was poor. I don't know how much more. I think Ryan Poles has got to be better than Ryan Pace, the previous GM who did the Trubisky trade and all that money that they gave to Khalil Mack because they were on their way to the Super Bowl, if you remember. But their center is Lucas Patrick, the former Packer. Cody Whitehair, Braxton Jones, Nate Davis mispracticed today. He's the right guard. So, although they've improved some of the perimeter players, I don't know how much better that offensive line is. But his offensive coordinator is Luke Getsy, longtime assistant coach here in Green Bay, now offensive coordinator of the Bears, and he has got to come up with a better plan for pass protection for Justin Fields because I think there's a lot of Bear fans that are frustrated with that record that you just mentioned. But, if they can get him to settle down, stay in the pocket, and work with some of these weapons that they've gotten them, short percentage passes, then I think he still could be a good quarterback because I saw that kid play with so much heart last year. His ribs must have been killing him. You'd see him get hit 7 and 8 times, and he would get back up off the turf and still, finish the game. So I think Justin Fields could still be a competitor in this league.
Mike Clemens, Civic Media's sports director and our, most importantly, Packer beat reporter. Mike, let's talk about the injury report. Bakhtiari, I heard he has not been participating in practice. Do they anticipate, is he on the list? Is he questionable? Is he out? Are we going to have our full complement of linemen for this first game?
Yeah. Bakhtiari hasn't practiced since August 30th, Mike. August 30th.
Wow.
And we had a long 20-minute conversation with him yesterday, and he came right out and said, look, he's 31. He's made a lot of money. This is his last year in Green Bay, and maybe if he gets another job, he'll get a big, 2 or 3 year contract with the Chargers, like Corey Linsley did, like Brian Bulaga did, something like that. So he's committed to playing this season alongside Elton Jenkins and trying to be the best left side offensive line that can. But, he keeps pointing to the knee. It's like the knee decides when I play or when I practice. And he said, really, I don't need to practice anymore. I don't. I know what I'm doing. I just need to sort of warm up. I need to kind of work on my angles, as he calls it, to get prepared for wherever rushers are coming from. But other than that, I can still do it. And I think this team, Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur are like, all right, first of all, we're paying the guy a lot, so we might as well get our money's worth. But B, when you put him in the games, he's still one of the best of the business. Mike, do you remember Chad Clifton?
I do, of course.
Yeah, so long-time left tackle between Favre and then the first couple of years of Rodgers. So Bakhtiari told us that in the training room now, they're starting to call him Cliffy. Because if you remember, I forgot Chad Clifton, he used to do that Mercedes Lewis thing, like, no practice, and then play 75 snaps and just, you couldn't get past him. So Bakhtiari's like the new Chad Clifton. And, Mark Tauscher used to joke around. He said, Cliffy, we call him the big Lamborghini because they only roll him out of the garage on Sundays.
Well, we barely let Dom out then. Mike Clemens, our Packer beat reporter here at Civic Media. Hey, man, what about the receiving corps? Jordan Love, this is his second NFL start, and he better have some receivers to throw to. And my understanding is Watson's been hurt. Who else is hurt? And are they playing? What's the report tell us about the receivers?
Yeah, so that Romeo Doubs has been out the last couple of weeks. They don't issue a injury report during camp. Eventually we found out he was dealing with a hamstring, which is why Romeo Doubs, the guy with the most chemistry with Jordan Love right now, they sat him, they rested him during the Seattle game, and he wasn't out there in the practice field. So we get in here on Wednesday wondering if Doubs is back, and all of a sudden, Christian Watson not practicing. And the injury report comes out, and it's a hamstring. Apparently it happened about a week ago, and he's out. And, you were so anxious to see this plan of Watson, Doubs, and then Jaden Reed, number 11, the kid that they're going to put in the slot, those guys together with Luke Musgrave to see how that works. But Watson has got a hamstring that, who knows, it could be a couple of weeks. So Doubs is limited in practice, but he's going to kind of hobble out there. I said, so who else you got at your wide receiver? He said Malik Heath is doing a tremendous job of preparation. And then he also talked about I thought this was pretty funny. Well, he talked about Jaden Reed, Jay Reed as they call him. And he said, and then Tay, 13. Yeah, he's done a nice job this week too. Dontavian Wicks, another one of these rookie 7th round picks at wide receiver. And I was like, do you realize he doesn't know the guy's name yet? He's pointing. He had to say at 13. Tay,
yeah, over there,
he's doing a pretty good job too. Yeah. So I hope they introduce themselves in the huddle. So but here's the thing. I went to Jordan Love because as soon as I heard that report from Wednesday, for some reason I had a flashback to a game when LaFleur had taken over as coach, and Rodgers was short at wide receiver like that. And if you remember, we're down there at Arrowhead. I think it was the week after Patrick Mahomes had that dislocated knee, so they had a backup quarterback. But they ended up using Aaron Jones. Remember, he went wide left and had caught one like 55 yards down the field. That kind of was a turning point of the game. He also had his other running back at the time, Jamal Williams, for a sweet touchdown pass when they were down in the red zone. Caught that. And so I thought they'll line up Aaron Jones as a receiver, right? So I asked Jordan Love, I said, how's that chemistry between you and Aaron Jones as a targeted receiver?
We have some sound from that.
Yeah, no, me and Justin, we got the same agent, so we do a good amount of things just with our agent and with our agency getting together. But no, I haven't talked to him at all this week. Probably talk to him, after the game or maybe before. Yeah, and I'm excited for it. It's always exciting to open the season, get the first game on rolling. But for an NFC opponent, rivalry game, it'll be very exciting playing there in their stadium. So I'm sure it'll be a packed house. Everybody will be excited for week one and ready to put on a show.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Mike Clemens, Civic Media's a sports director, joining us. A little Packer pregame. Mike, you talk about Justin Fields, obviously great athlete. Hard to maybe criticize if you have an offensive line that's got some holes in it. How do you think the Packers D is going to match up this weekend?
Well, the guy they're going to be keying on is DJ Moore, a wide receiver that had a great run with the Carolina Panthers that they traded for him in March, and he's got the speed. Last year, Justin Fields is playing the Packers at Soldier Field in December, and he's thrown to Equanimeous St. Brown, a guy who didn't work out in Green Bay. So, now he goes back to the back of the line, and they got DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and Cole Kmet. They got Robert Tonyan. Bobby Tonyan is there now, the former Packers tight end, and so is Mercedes Lewis. So they're getting him more weapons on the perimeter. And then Khalil Herbert is a running back that will get them some yards as well. So the thing is, they're going to have to keep an eye, though, on DJ Moore, because once he catches it, man, he can take off great yards after the catch. And if I'm Luke Getsy, I'm thinking about putting DJ Moore somewhere over the middle, maybe out in the flats, higher percentage accuracy, passes. Take it easier on that rather than shooting for, the deep ball all the time. And that could work. Now, a guy that's going to have to keep his eye on him is Darnell Savage Jr. Adrian Amos has now moved on. He's with the Jets, and so he'll be the lead guy at safety back there. And Rudy Ford, I think they're kind of weak at safety on the Packers defense.
I think they kind of are. It's a rotating safeties, isn't it? It's like three or maybe four starters back there, which mean we don't have two strong starters.
Exactly. It's Rudy Ford, who really should be like a special teams guy and a backup safety. I'm surprised they didn't pick one up, after the cutdowns. Jonathan Owens, I think they feel okay about him, and at least as a special teams player. So I talked to Savage, who's kind of stepped up a little bit as a leader, about the rivalry. And I said, this whole team is 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds. They don't really understand the rivalry. I said, so when you walk in these stadiums, that's when it must kick in, right? And here's how that went.
On game day, when you walk into that stadium, aren't there signs?
Oh, yeah.
Then it kicks in and you say, oh.
Yeah, you feel it. I mean, and it's not even necessarily when you walk into the stadium. It's driving to the stadium. It's in the bus, so you see all the people tailgating, that kind of thing. It's a good feeling, though, honestly. It's kind of like a us against the world kind of feeling, And I feel it feels good because it kind of brings us closer together because we know we all we got. We in this big stadium by ourselves, essentially. Obviously, Packer fans travel very well. We hope to hear some Go Pack Go chants on Sunday. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It's a special thing. This Bears Packers kind of thing. So
when you're down on the field and you got women in the stands flipping off Aaron Rodgers, that's an indication.
Yeah, absolutely. They like I said though, that's the thing about just these two organizations, just the fan base behind them is so deep and so rooted and so strong, it just goes back to time and time again, so it just makes it all the more better.
Mike Clemens, our Packer beat reporter, Civic Media's sports director. Mike, are you giving us a prediction for this Sunday's big game, Bears Packers? My prediction, pain.
I don't really do the predictions, but I will for this one because, like I say, there's nothing like to see. The best story is for Jordan Love to continue this 30 years of misery for those season ticket holders at Soldier Field between Favre and Love. So I'm gonna go 24-19. Green Bay continues the misery at Soldier Field.
I'm sorry, what was the score?
24-19.
Dom, your thoughts?
19. Real quick, Mike, before we let you go, my Lions leading the NFC North. What do you think? Did you see the game in 30 seconds? NFC champs or Super Bowl champs, Mike?
How about that fake punt with the punter back with his back to the goal line, 91-yard drive in 14 plays? Dan Campbell is dangerous. He might be the next Ditka.
Mike Clemens. You could be the next Mike Clemens. Thank you for joining us today. Enjoy the game. Rest you. Come back.
You, boys.
More Devil's Advocates on the other side.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, our last segment of the day, of the week. If you got something to say, air your grievances now. 844-967-2789.
Line them up, because otherwise I'm promoting more sports up around here, man. Can't wait for the big football weekend, dude. I live for this stuff. You know I do. That and Hawaiian shirts. I live for this stuff. I got my Badger hat on. I got
Megan the PI over here, man.
Buddy, I got the Jordan Love boat strapped up at home. Can't wait to hop in the truck and take her up and throw her on the lake. And of course, listen to my beloved Badgers. I would recommend the flagship stream, WRJN. They're kicking off 6:30 on Saturday night. Little night affair. We got Badger stations all around the state, though. Minneapolis Outmarket, WLAK 1260 AM. Up in central northern Wisconsin, we've got WFHR, locally grown radio and Badgers. That's 1320 AM, 97.5 FM. And of course, our Badger flagship in southwestern Wisconsin, WRCE. They got our Badgers over there. That's 1450 AM, 107.7 FM. Really, I'm just testing myself, see if I still know what stations we have. And our flagship, 1400 WRJN. Listen, Racine, Kenosha, and most importantly, all across Milwaukee. Not only will we have the Badgers, we're also going to have the Packers. 3:25 kickoff. Pregame like 2 hours earlier. Dom, I am so pumped about the kickoff of the NFL season. Man, I never thought we'd have the Packers.
And we have the Packers.
And we do. Across the network.
Fantastic.
The Big Q up north, too. 98.3 FM in Park Falls and Minocqua. Anywhere there's a cabin in northern Wisconsin, put on 98.3. You'll probably hear our Packer coverage. And WRCO, we're going to party with the Packer fans on September 28th in Richland Center. If you didn't hear, Dom and Crute going on the road for a Fall Love Hometown Tour 2023, something like that. And we will be in Richland Center September 28th for a little politics then Packers, a little watch party, courtesy of WRCO. They're our Packers affiliate, and WRCE, where they play out the greatest radio show ever. That's us, Tom.
That's us.
So, Pack Jam, football, door to door. But what about that Lindsay Graham and the other
and
named but not indicted people in the state of Georgia, man? Guilty.
Well,
line up the indictments.
Listen, I rely on DA Willis to make the best decision to get the convictions based on the evidence that she has. Did not
she feel like
some
more
folks,
than 19 concurrent defendants at trial would be cumbersome?
I don't know that the number was the case. Presumably, it's about the evidence. So we'll have to wait and see. But I want to throw this one out there again. 844-967-2789. Washington Post reporting: judge denies Mark Meadows' effort to move Georgia case to the federal court.
That's a big deal for Mark Meadows. That means he's effectively Scrooged, right, Dom? Because he was claiming all of these things were efforts as the chief of staff to the former president.
Right. The judge found the actions at the heart of the state's charges against Meadows were taken on behalf of the Trump campaign with the ultimate goal of affecting state election activities and procedures. He added, Meadows himself testified that working for the Trump campaign would be outside the scope of a White House chief of staff. I mean, he said that himself. Let's go a little bit further down here. The ruling will proceed. Meadows' case will proceed in Fulton County Superior Court with no opportunity to make the argument. Damn it. Let me scroll back here just a moment. Bear with me. Jones, the judge. The judge's decision is also not good news for 4 other co-defendants who have sought to move their cases to federal court. Jones said during Meadows' August 28 hearing that he expected his ruling to serve as precedent for other cases. While Trump has not sought removal, his lawyers indicated in a Superior Court filing on Thursday he may do so. The decision would appear to bode poorly for him, too, if he chooses to seek removal. And if anybody had a case for removal to the federal court, presumably it was Meadows. The other folks, if Meadows didn't get it, nobody's getting it.
844 967-2789. It's stacking up against the Trump loyalist. They're going to start jumping off the ship like rats, right, Dom?
You would think so.
Mark Meadows was already being accused of being the rat. Catherine from Madison, welcome to the show. You got a grievance?
Hey, Catherine.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for the show today. It was really good. I'm calling in because we're often saying that elections have consequences, but laws and rules have consequences too.
Yes.
And I'm still irritated that Josh Call is not bringing a case against the fake electors. It's like almost 3 years now. And I honestly think that might be the fact that here in Wisconsin, those electors are going essentially scot-free right now for an obvious, simple case of,
well, there
fake
is
documents.
a civil trial that is scheduled for next year, Catherine. And I'm not saying that's the same as a criminal trial, but understand, Catherine, let's assume they're guilty of the underlying conspiracy. These false electors that were at the direction of Rudy Giuliani or Troopus or Cheesebro or Eastman, whoever gave them the advice, they took it and showed themselves to be gullible, perhaps criminally complicit, in our opinion. But the Attorney General hasn't charged that. So if there's going to be any justice, probably for Wisconsinites, and I feel like these people wronged us, right? But the only justice will come through the civil trials. That will be the exposure, and that will be financial exposure. They're being sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars each, Catherine, and that's not quite the same as a jail cell, but it's going to sting.
Yeah.
It's going to sting.
I know, but I still think it's not enough. I think that they're getting away with this and not even getting charged just makes them feel like they can, try to kick Protasiewicz out, essentially kick her out by making sure she doesn't have any, she can't go forward with being the justice.
Who am I kidding, Catherine? I agreed with you the whole time. I was just looking for a silver lining on a Friday afternoon.
We'll take what we can get, Catherine. I mean, I agree. I'm with you as well. I mean, if this, and we think it is criminal, it's fraud. They knew what they were doing. Hell, the former chair of the Republican Party in the state of Wisconsin said this is a terrible idea. It's going to fail. And then he went on to sign for it, Catherine. So no, I'm not. I mean, I think the pressure should still be on call. Why not? Why aren't you going down this road? Now, maybe he is, and he's not talking about open investigations, etc. But it seems to me that if you do not go after what is seemingly obvious fraud to me, that you do not discourage that behavior from happening again in the future. Thanks for the call, Catherine. Have a great weekend.
Thank you to our fine guests. They included Ben Wikler, chairman of the fine Democratic Party, a great state of Wisconsin. Also, Mike Clemens, he is our Packer beat reporter, Civic Media sports director. Packers by 3 touchdowns. That's my prediction.
I'll take it.
No, don't forget, Maggie Dawn Show is next, and Pizza Box Mike, high school football across many of these stations. Keep it locked. Civic Media. Let's go surfing now.